call to order the, what's the date, y'all? The October 8th, 2025 Legislative Committee meeting. Do we have any public, well, first of all, let us introduce ourselves for those that are watching, if you would please.
Darden Rice, Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer.
Kathleen Peters, Pinellas County.
Rob Walker, Great City of Dunedin.
Deborah Figgs Sanders, St. Petersburg City Council.
Hello, I'm Brad Miller, CEO of PSTA.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So we are going to go ahead and get started as our chair makes her way through that traffic that was quite extensive this morning. So with that, do we have any public comment?
No, we don't.
No public comment. Okay, seeing none, we do have an action item of approving the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so the motion passes. Well, we want to welcome our state legislative update from Mr. Ron Pierce. Good morning, Ron.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, committee members. I think the good news, I can actually probably be pretty brief this morning.
Okay, well, we like brief.
Yeah, we do.
We are off and running. We like brief. And by the way, Madam Chair, I am surprised that you mentioned traffic. I'm shocked we have transportation issues in Tampa Bay.
Oh, it was bad this morning. Yeah, it was bad this morning.
So we are in Tallahassee for committee week number 1. We are on day 3 of committee week number 1. We're up here this week, we're up here next week, 2 committee weeks in November, 2 in December, and session starts on January the 13th. Nothing really has been filed or started moving at this point. Obviously, we do believe there'll be some transportation bills that will be moving that could impact us specifically, looking to be out there. So we'll keep a close eye on those as they kind of pop out. From a budget standpoint, as we've talked about at our last meeting and on our agenda, we obviously want to watch a number of different budget related items. Budget won't really start moving until very late in the committee process, and probably not really until we get into session. So I would suspect we'll know sometime in January. We are from I think from a budget standpoint. So at this point, we try to figure out kind of what our appropriation may look like. So Brad, I'm not sure if you have any update there. So we have not filed anything yet, but once we kind of know who the sponsors are and what the project may look like, we'll circle back with everybody. So with that being said, Darden, Brad, please let me know if I missed anything, and I'm happy to answer any questions of the committee members.
Thank you, Ron. This is Brad. So as the committee knows, our adopted state legislative agenda contemplated having a appropriation request either by us or by the cities for dock improvements in Clearwater or Dunedin for the Clearwater Ferry. And we talked to, and those would be matching funds for the $750,000 or now I think $800,000 that is tentative that Congresswoman Luna has put in as a federal request that this would match those funds. Talked to the city of Dunedin. The issue is if Congresswoman Luna is successful in getting that earmark approved, that those funds would flow to PSTA as federal funds, and then therefore the dock itself, the asset paid for with those funds, would have to be owned by PSTA. We've done this in the past with other cities where we would own an asset, but then we would have a long-term lease with the city where they would maintain it, and it would act as if no one would even know that it's not part of the city marina. The city of Dunedin didn't seem too comfortable with that, city staff. So then we went to Clearwater and talked to the Clearwater folks. Debbie talked to them yesterday, and they seem interested in this. So it seems, Ron, that we maybe have a suitor in the city of Clearwater that they would be willing to. We would sign a no-cost lease to attach our dock, our ferry dock, to Clearwater, and then we would lease back the the ferry dock, that's at least what Dan Slaughter thought, right?
Yes.
Yeah, what does that
I
say?
don't know if we have to lease it back, but we would own it, they would maintain it.
Yeah. So Ron, that's the intel that we've gotten from the cities.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. And for the committee, one of the things the needle we've been trying to thread is we can't get state dollars that flow to PSTA that then pays for infrastructure for a local government. We can't get the dollars and we just turn around and give the local government dollars to build something. So
Right.
as long as it's our infrastructure, so like in this case, I think the example that Brad gave it would be our dock. And we would basically then, lease space from the arena to have our dock there for the ferry. That probably works. So if that's satisfactory to everyone, what we would then do is we can work with Darden and Brad on get everything completed, and then more importantly, work with the city of Clearwater, and then also start working with potential sponsors for the appropriation as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Walker.
So that means the appropriation, the earmark would go to Clearwater and not Dunedin?
Yes. Yeah. No, I know that the city of Dunedin is trying to get FEMA funds and maybe their own earmark.
Yeah. Well, not so much an earmark. We are anticipating to start seeing our FEMA reimbursements specifically for the marina start kicking in. But yeah, unfortunately, this caught me a little bit flat-footed because I've heard nothing about this, which I'm not happy about right now.
Yeah.
But I'll follow up on our end, and
Okay, yeah, it was my understanding that the city of Dunedin received a state legislative appropriation last year.
yes.
And that was maybe gonna follow up with a second one this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we did receive state funding last year. And it was specifically designated for the marina, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
In our conversations too, I know that Brad had talked to the city, and then I also talked to the lobbyists. I think what the concern was from a city perspective, and again, this is what we were told, is having two appropriations requests, one for the marina from the city, one from PSTA for the dock for the ferry, end up being competing interest. And I think the city's fear, which is a valid concern, is if there's two projects, one's at 8 or 10 million and one's at 800,000, if one gets funded, they'll fund the one that is a lesser amount, and then there's no additional dollars to the marina. So
All
I
right.
think that was some of the concern, because again, it was two competing projects, both at the same place for infrastructure, one for the marina from Dunedin, one from PSTA for the dock. And I think the bigger concern was having the dollars flow to PSTA, but they don't own the infrastructure at Dunedin, and that could be something we could work through, and I think we're happy to explore that, but time just wasn't our friend, so I think that's why I think Brad and the team looked at pivoting potentially to Clearwater, so.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you for that. Any additional questions? Comments? So thank you, Ron. We appreciate you as always.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So now we're gonna move on to our federal legislative update by Mr. Harry Glenn. Good morning, Mr. Glenn.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you well.
Great. Well, I guess my report's not quite as positive as Ron's. As you know, this is day 8 of the federal government shutdown. And so it's unclear when this is going to be resolved. They seem to think that the biggest forcing point will be next Wednesday when the first federal paychecks, particularly for the military and the air traffic controllers, don't go out. But the Senate remains in session. they're trying to vote every day on the House passed bill to keep the government open. There don't seem to be any negotiations on at this point, so we'll continue to watch. From a practical standpoint, Brad, I don't know, a good part of the funding that you all receive on a formula basis and other things are actually out of the Highway Trust Fund, because that's not an appropriated dollar. That's not subject to the shutdown. So there are transportation employees at the U.S. Department of Transportation and FTA who continue to work during the shutdown because they're paid for out of trust fund dollars and not appropriated dollars. So, I mean, from a standpoint of PSTA, I'm not sure, Brad, if you're seeing any impacts at this point from the shutdown or not.
Not yet, no.
It
I mean, all
does.
the FTA people are supposedly working.
Yeah, so a couple of practical impacts, though. The transportation appropriations bill that Brad referred to that has Rep. Luna's and Rep. Castor's earmarked projects for ferry infrastructure in St. Petersburg and Dunedin. Those bills are both on hold. No negotiations are going on the fiscal 26 appropriations bills until they resolve the shutdown. So the House, in fact, is even in town. They're continuing to be out of town until the Senate votes on to pass a continuing resolution. So the House did not return this week. So those appropriations bills, Brad, are being slowed down even further right now. The highway and transit reauthorization bill, Brad, that we've been talking about, that's also on hold. They had planned, I think, at the staff level to get a bill prepared for the committee's consideration later this month, but with the House being out of town, that schedule sliding to the right. So it looks like the earliest they can mark up a highway and transportation bill is sometime in November. So that's on hold. Also on hold, Brad, is I don't know, the Federal Register, I know you've been looking for some potential regulatory activity related to taxi cab exemption. A lot of that regulatory work is now on hold. They've pretty much suspended publishing new and proposed regulations in the Federal Register on a daily basis. That's pretty much on hold, except for emergency regulations until the government reopens. So probably won't see anything there for a couple days or potentially weeks. So those are all the things that are being held up. I see Commissioner Peters in the room. Commissioner Peters, we were scheduling a meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers in Pinellas County to talk about the beach renourishment issue with the Army Corps. They were excited to come down and visit, but that's on hold now because there's no travel allowed during the shutdown. So once the government reopens, the Corps will reschedule that meeting and try and get them down to Pinellas County as soon as possible. And for those of you who are electeds that are concerned about the National Flood Insurance Program, the authorization for the National Flood Insurance Program expired at the end of the fiscal year. It's usually reauthorized as part of the continuing funding resolution or the end of year appropriations bill. That's on hold right now. So right now, the National Flood Insurance Program is operating. Policy renewals are being processed, but no new policies for new home buyers are able to be written until they reauthorize the program. So that will be on hold for a while, which will mess up the real estate market a little bit in Pinellas County. So those are some practical impacts down there in Pinellas. Brad, I'm not sure. I know you have a visit coming up, Brad. We're going to sit down and meet with the FTA and some of the committee staff again to talk about the taxi cab exemption. Hopefully we get the shutdown concluded and you can make your trip up here. But outside of that, I don't have anything else, Brad. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Have anything you want to
It's
contribute,
shut
Brad?
down, yeah, so. Well, I guess I can ask one question of Harry. Harry, I don't know if you have a, crystal ball, but, you think coming out of the, shutdown, there'll be another continuing resolution, or they actually will try to pass some bills?
So the crystal ball is a little cloudy right now, but I think from the Appropriations Committee standpoint, their plan is to try and process. There are 12 regular appropriations bills that Congress considers each year. What we've been doing here for the last 10 years is compiling them all into one big package and passing that at the end of the year. The leadership of the House and Senate Appropriations Committee have agreed to try and actually have conference committee meetings. I know this will probably shock Ron, but they're actually going to have conference committee meetings in Congress now and try and resolve each of these 12 bills. I think they're going to do them in 2 and 3 bill packages. which is good. They've been working on the first three bill package, and they were doing that in September prior to the shutdown. And Brad, typically the transportation bill is one of the less controversial, so I would expect they won't be able to do anything until they reopen the government. That's been the Appropriations Committee's posture, but I think they're going to try and get each of these bills resolved, reconciled out before the end of the calendar year. So I feel somewhat optimistic about that. I don't think Congress wants to go through another full year continuing funding resolution like we're in now, which puts the government on automatic pilot. And as you know from last year, if you go on that full year continuing funding resolution, all the congressional earmarks that are in the various bills are lost, just like they were for the current fiscal year. So I think there's a real determination to get the work done. It's just now the process is being bogged down by the shutdown.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and thank you for that. So Brad, with everything being on hold, but again, I did hear him say that our transportation bill is less controversial, so I think after the shutdown is over, we still shouldn't see an impact from the shutdown, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I think if it goes on for a long time, we would maybe have an effect of, right now, since we're close to the fiscal year, October 1st, every year, the computer system for grants at the USDOT shuts down for like 2 weeks usually. So we're kind of still in that, and then they're just keeping it shut down until the government opens, I think, or something. That's what we're getting intel. So if it goes down for a long time, we'll definitely have an effect on our capital funding. The thing about that Harry was talking about, the regulations regarding Uber and Lyft. Before the shutdown, right, in September, there was rumors that FTA was going to come out with a regulation that was going to issue a proposed rulemaking to that would allow Uber and Lyft to be used, basically to maintain the current or old standard, and not implement the last administration's proposed elimination of Uber and Lyft because they're not drug tested, that whole thing. Uber was so excited about the rumor that they even issued a press release about it, which I thought was a little bold, but Harry says it's on hold, but theoretically, sometime later this year, FTA is going to issue a notice of a new regulation that would basically go back to the old way of allowing Uber and Lyft to be used for our program, so.
okay. 'Cause I know that was the conversation when we were in Tallahassee earlier this year, about being able to use that, so I didn't know that was still a big issue.
It's now permitted in the state. State DOT funds can be used for Uber and Lyft now.
No.
That's what we were talking about, but the feds, there was this threat that they were gonna shut it down. They haven't shut it down because they haven't done anything, but now I think they would supposedly issue some positive regulations that would keep it in place, permanently.
Okay.
That's what we're hopeful.
Well, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Glenn? So our chair has joined us. Welcome, Chair. I know you got caught in that traffic.
I did.
I know you did. So we tried to hold out for you, but since we had a quorum, we went on ahead and got started. And just a brief recap and not to start over, we have had our state legislative update with Mr. Pierce, who's still on, and we just finished having the federal legislative update. And again, thank you, Mr. Glenn, for that. And unless we have any other questions or anyone wants to add, I don't know if you have any questions really quickly because you missed the updates, but we've had them.
Thank you.
I'm
Well,
gonna turn it over to
I will
you.
get caught up after the meeting, so as not to waste everyone's time. I do apologize for my tardiness. I was not aware that the lane was closed for a good stretch of 275 this morning and got stuck in that. So, but thank you, and thank you for starting without me. I will get caught up later with Brad. So thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds good. Mr. Glenn and Mr. Pierce. again, you are appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna go ahead and move into other business. Is there any other business any committee members would like to share?
Well, Madam Chair, I can
Yes, Mr. Miller.
maybe give a local legislative update on our interactions with various municipalities with the ferry funding. City of Dunedin unanimously approved their interlocal agreement. That was the smoothest negotiations possible because the attorney for PSTA and Dunedin was the same person, so they that went very well. And so tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning, bright and early, we will be cracking a fake bottle or something at the Dunedin docks for the launch of the Clearwater Ferry to Dunedin. We're using a temporary dock there at the marina. So that's very exciting. On the Cross Bay Ferry, thank you to the city of St. Petersburg and some efforts by our committee members, I think, to keep the interlocal agreement for the funding for the Tampa Bay Ferry on track for your next city council meeting, I think, on the 16th. Tampa is trying to stay on track also, hopefully, for their the interlocal agreement to go to the Tampa City Council on October 23rd is their next meeting. So that would be that's our goal, is to have the interlocal agreements approved by the cities, then the PSDA board can vote on the contract, the operating contract to get Hubbard's Marina going on their first finding the vessels using the grant and then operating the service. But there's been a lot of negotiations with both cities on the particulars of their docks and everything like that. I know there's still work in St. Petersburg on trying to get the ferry back to the Vinoy basin. Still got work on that, but we're making a little bit of progress, I think, on that.
Okay, cause I know we're meeting on the 15th, right? With Evan.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we'll have that. Anyone else has anything I can turn it over to you now, or just keep going.
Go ahead.
Just Darden, you have something, did you raise your hand?
No, I'm good. I have meetings with other city council members as well, Chair Gertis, Hanowitz, I think Richie Floyd as well, so.
We're good? Commissioner Peters? You good? Commissioner Walker?
Yeah, I just wanna thank Brad and your team for, it was very smooth to get the interlocal done.
Yes.
And yeah, we are very much looking forward to the ribbon cutting, the launching, whatever we're calling it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Unfortunately, it's on a Thursday. You know what
Yeah.
that means for the city of St. Pete. We're in committee and council, so congratulations.
I'm so sorry you can't be there for that.
Yeah,
we'll be there in
in spirit.
I
we'll
know,
be there in
absolutely,
spirit.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be cracking a bottle than, you know. but that
Well, yeah,
would-
the Clearwater Ferry operates on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, so Thursday will be, tomorrow will be its first day to Dunedin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I don't see any other requests to speak or further business on this. The meeting is now adjourned and the next legislative meeting will be November 5th at 9 a.m. And with that, we're adjourned, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I started on 275. I had to get off. I left it maybe.
I know, I got off too.